Now let me tell you about a woman named Rose Miller, and I swear on my mama's good china this story's as true as the sun comes up. Rose Miller sold flowers down on Maple Street, right there in that little shop with the yellow door, and folks said she had the brightest smile in 3 counties. Brightest smile in 3 counties, I tell you. Every morning, Rose would open that shop at 7 sharp, rain or shine, rain or shine. She'd tie her apron strings tight around her waist, tuck her dark hair behind her ears, and arrange those flowers like she was painting pictures with petals. Roses red as Sunday wine, daisies white as fresh cotton, sunflowers tall as fence posts. People came from all over just to see her work, just to see her smile. But here's the thing about smiles, child. Here's the thing. Sometimes the brightest smile hides the darkest heart. Rose Miller knew that better than anybody. She'd smile at the young couples who came in hand, eyes shining like new pennies. She'd tie their bouquets with white ribbon and whisper blessings over the stems. "May your love bloom forever," she'd say. "May your love bloom forever and never see winter." And those couples, they'd leave happy, believing in her magic, believing in her sunshine. They didn't know that Rose went home every night to an empty house on Willow Road. They didn't know she kept all the lights off except one small lamp. They didn't know she'd sit in her dead husband's chair and cry until the morning light came creeping through the curtains. Rose's husband was named Jack Miller, and he'd been gone 2 years come November. 2 years come November, and the pain still felt fresh as a new wound. Jack had died in a car accident on Route 9, right there by the old Dawson farm where the road curves like a snake. One minute he was alive, singing along to the radio. Next minute he was gone. Gone like smoke, gone like summer. The day they buried Jack Miller, Rose stopped crying. Just stopped, just like that. Folks thought maybe she was being strong, maybe she was handling it real well. But the truth was, Rose had locked her grief up tight in a box inside her chest, and she threw away the key. She threw away the key and told herself if she didn't look at that pain, it couldn't hurt her. So she smiled instead. Smiled and sold flowers. Sold flowers to people in love, helped them celebrate their joy while her own heart turned to stone. Piece by piece, day by day. Her sister Lena would call from 2 towns over and say, "Rose, honey, you need to talk about it. You need to let it out." But Rose would just laugh that bright, hollow laugh and say, "I'm fine, Lena, fine as frog's hair. I got my flowers and I got my work." Winter came and went. Spring arrived with its pink blossoms and its promises. Rose kept smiling, kept selling, kept pretending. Every morning she'd look at herself in the mirror and practice that smile until it looked real. "Good morning, beautiful day," she'd say to customers. "What kind of joy can I wrap up for you today?" And they'd never guess at all, that her heart was breaking with every bouquet she tied. Now, the thing about grief, child, is it's like water. You can dam it up, you can try to stop its flow, but it'll find a way through. It'll seep and leak and eventually burst through whatever walls you build. Rose didn't know that yet. She thought she could keep smiling forever, thought she could keep selling sunshine while living in the dark. But then came a Tuesday in April, right after the spring rains had washed the streets clean. A Tuesday like any other Tuesday, or so Rose thought. She was arranging tulips in the front window, pink ones and yellow ones, pretty as painted pictures, when the bell above the door chimed. She turned around with that practiced smile she'd perfected over 2 long years. A man stood in the doorway, and right away Rose could tell he was different. Not like her usual customers, all excited and nervous, picking flowers for proposals or anniversaries. This man looked tired. He had gray at his temples, though he couldn't have been more than 40, and his eyes were the kind of sad that doesn't wash away easy. He wore a brown jacket and carried himself like he'd been carrying heavy things for too long. "Welcome to Sunshine Flowers," Rose said, bright as a copper penny. "What brings you in on this beautiful day? Need something special for someone special?" She said it the way she always did. Same words, same tune, like a song she'd sung 1,000 times before. The man looked at her for a long moment, looked at her in a way that made her want to turn away, like he could see right through that smile to the broken places underneath. Then he said, quiet as church prayer, "I need flowers for a grave." Rose's smile faltered. Just for a second, just the tiniest slip, but she caught herself quick. "Of course," she said, smoothing her apron. "I have some lovely arrangements for remembrance. White lilies are traditional, or perhaps roses." "No," the man interrupted, gentle-like. "Not traditional. Not what's proper. I need something that says goodbye is hard. Something that says I'm angry and sad and lost all at once." Well, child, that stopped Rose in her tracks. Stopped her dead, I tell you. In all her years of selling flowers, nobody had ever asked for angry flowers. Nobody had ever asked for truth like that. Most folks wanted pretty lies, wanted to dress up death in white lilies and whisper about angels and better places. She stood there, hands gripping the counter, and felt something crack in that sealed-up box inside her chest. Just a tiny crack, like ice breaking in spring. "Who died?" she heard herself ask, and her voice sounded different, sounded real for the first time in 2 years. The man's shoulders dropped an inch. "My daughter," he said. 3 weeks ago. She was 16. Cancer took her, piece by piece, until there wasn't nothing left but a whisper. He said it flat, like reading a grocery list, but Rose could hear the ocean of pain underneath. The ocean of pain he was trying not to drown in. Rose's hands started shaking. She pressed them flat on the counter, pressed hard, but they kept shaking anyway. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and she meant it. Meant it in a way she hadn't meant anything in a long, long time. "Yeah," the man said. "Yeah, me too." He looked around the shop, at all the bright blooms, all the happy colors. "This might have been a mistake. Coming here. It's too. Everything here is too alive, too happy. My girl loved flowers, loved bright things, but now." "Wait," Rose said, and she came out from behind the counter, came right up to the stranger and looked him in the eye. "I can make you something true, something that holds all of it, the love and the anger and the sorrow, something that doesn't lie." The man studied her face, and Rose felt like he was reading a book she'd kept closed for too long. "You know something about grief," he said. It wasn't a question. Rose's practiced smile was gone now, gone like morning mist. "My husband died 2 years ago, 2 years come November, and I haven't cried since the funeral. Haven't let myself feel it because I thought if I didn't look at it, it couldn't hurt me." The words came tumbling out like water from a broken dam. "But it hurts anyway. It hurts anyway. Doesn't it? Even when you don't look at it." "Yes," the man said, simple as that. "Yes, it does." They stood there in the flower shop, 2 broken people surrounded by blooms, and something shifted in the air. Something real passed between them. Real as rain, real as heartbreak. Rose felt that crack in her chest widen, felt the light starting to leak through. "What's your name?" she asked. "Sam Carter," he said. "And you're Rose. Says so on your name tag." Rose looked down and laughed, but this time it wasn't her hollow laugh. This time it sounded real, sounded human. So it does, Sam Carter." She wiped her eyes quick, surprised to find them wet. "Let me make something for your daughter, something that tells the truth." "What was her name?" "Emma," Sam said, and his voice cracked on that single word, cracked wide open. "Her name was Emma, and she loved sunflowers. Said they looked like the sun came down to earth just to smile." Rose nodded slow. "Then we'll start with sunflowers. But we'll add other things too. Deep purple iris for wisdom and pain. White roses for remembrance. And red for the love that doesn't stop just because someone's gone. Red for the love that keeps bleeding even when the heart stops beating." Sam's eyes filled up with tears, and he didn't try to hide them, didn't try to smile through it or pretend it didn't hurt. He just stood there and let them fall like rain. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not making me pretend." Rose got to work then, and her hands knew what to do even though her heart was breaking open. Breaking open for the first time in 2 years. And Lord have mercy. It hurt. It hurt so bad she wanted to stop, wanted to lock that box back up and throw away the key all over again. But she kept working, kept building that arrangement for Emma Carter. And with every stem she placed, She felt something loosen in her chest. She added sunflowers tall and proud. Added iris dark as bruises. Added roses white as moonlight and red as blood and pink as dawn. She wove them together in a way that looked like a conversation between hope and heartbreak, between love and loss, between the girl who was and the girl who would never be again. When she finished, she stepped back and looked at what she'd made. It was the most honest thing she'd created in 2 years. The most honest thing and the most beautiful because it didn't lie. It didn't try to pretty up death or put a bow on grief. It just held space for all of it. All the love, all the anger, all the impossible sorrow of loving someone and losing them. Sam looked at the flowers and his face crumpled like paper. He reached out and touched a sunflower petal, gentle as kissing a sleeping child. "It's perfect," he said. Emma would have loved it. Would have said it was absolutely epic. He smiled through his tears. That was her word for everything good. Epic. Epic, Rose repeated, and she smiled too. Smiled for real this time, even though tears were running down her own face, even though her chest hurt like something was being torn open inside it. "Your Emma sounds like she was something special." "She was," Sam said. "She was sunshine in shoes, that girl. Made everybody laugh even when she was sick, even when she was scared. Told jokes right up to the end." His voice caught. "I don't know how to live in a world without her in it. I don't know how to wake up every morning knowing I'll never hear her laugh again." Rose's throat closed up tight. She knew that feeling. Knew it like she knew her own name. "My Jack used to sing in the shower," she said, the words coming slow like pulling up a bucket from a deep well. Terrible voice, couldn't carry a tune in a bucket with a lid on it, but he sang anyway. Every morning some old country song or other. And when he died, the silence in my house got so loud I thought I'd go crazy from it. "Does it get better?" Sam asked. "People keep telling me it gets better, but I don't believe them." Rose thought about that. Thought about 2 years of smiling through the pain, 2 years of selling sunshine while living in darkness. "I don't know," she said honest. "I don't know if it gets better. I think maybe it just gets different. Maybe we just learn to carry it different." Sam nodded slow like he was trying that truth on for size. "I should go," he said. "Emma's grave is out at Restful Pines Cemetery. I visit every day even though people say I should move on, should get back to normal. But this is my normal now." He picked up the arrangement, cradling it careful in his arms. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," Rose said. "This one's free. This one's for Emma, and for everyone who ever loved somebody they couldn't keep." Sam's jaw worked like he was chewing on words he couldn't quite spit out. Finally he said, "Would you like to come with me? To the cemetery, I mean. You don't have to. I know it's strange, asking a stranger to visit a grave. But I think Emma would have liked you. And I think maybe—" He trailed off, looking uncertain. Rose should have said no. Should have thanked him politely and gone back to her counter, back to her practiced smile, back to her safe pretending. But that crack in her chest was getting wider, letting in light and pain all mixed together, and she heard herself say, "Yes, let me close up the shop and I'll come with you." She flipped the sign on the door to closed, hung up her apron, and grabbed her keys. Her hands were still shaking like leaves in a storm, but she didn't try to hide it anymore. She followed Sam out to his truck, a blue Ford that had seen better days, and climbed in the passenger seat. They drove through town in silence, past the drugstore and the diner, past the elementary school where children played in the yard, their voices rising like birds. Rose watched the world go by and felt like she was seeing it for the first time in years. Seeing it with new eyes, sad eyes, but real eyes at least. Restful Pines Cemetery sat on a hill outside town, surrounded by pine trees that whispered in the wind. Sam parked near the entrance and they walked together down the gravel path, past rows of headstones that marked all the people who used to be alive, used to laugh and love and hurt and hope. All quiet now, all still. Emma's grave was near the back, under a young oak tree that Jack had planted there himself. The headstone was simple, pink granite with her name and dates carved clean. Emma Grace Carter, 2009 to 2025. Beloved daughter, brave soul, light of our lives. Sam knelt down and placed the flowers at the base of the stone. He touched the headstone like he was touching Emma's face, like he could feel her through the cold marble. "Hey, baby girl," he said soft. "Brought you some flowers today. Special ones. Made by a lady who understands." Rose stood behind him, arms wrapped around herself, and felt like an intruder on something sacred. She started to step back, to give him privacy, but Sam turned and looked up at her. "Tell her about Jack," he said. "Tell her about your husband. Emma always loved love stories, even the sad ones. Especially the sad ones, maybe." So Rose knelt down beside Sam in the grass, knelt down right there in her good work clothes, and started talking to a dead girl she'd never met. "Hi, Emma," she said, voice wobbling like a wheel on a broken cart. "My husband Jack died 2 years ago. He was a good man, the best man. Worked at the hardware store and knew everybody's name. Could fix anything, cars, leaky faucets, broken hearts. He fixed mine more times than I can count." The words kept coming, kept spilling out like she'd opened a door she couldn't close again. "We met when I was 22, right out of college and new to town. I came into the hardware store looking for paint and he helped me pick out colors for my first apartment. He was so patient, so kind, even though I couldn't make up my mind between 6 different shades of blue." Sam was listening quiet, nodding sometimes, and Rose felt like maybe Emma was listening too, wherever souls go when bodies stop. "Jack asked me out that day. Asked me to dinner at the diner on Main Street. I said yes, even though I didn't usually date strangers, but something about him felt safe. Felt like home." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "We got married a year later, right there in the Methodist church with all the town watching. Jack wore a suit he borrowed from his brother and I wore my mama's wedding dress, altered to fit. Happiest day of my life. Happiest day, I swear. We had 15 years together. 15 good years, even though we fought sometimes like all couples do. Fought about money and whose turn it was to do dishes and whether we should get a dog. But we loved each other fierce. Loved each other the way the moon loves the tide. The way the roots love the earth." Her voice broke. "And then one day he went to the store for milk and eggs, just milk and eggs, and he never came home. Police came to my door instead. Hats in their hands, faces sorry as Sunday. Said there'd been an accident. Said he died quick, didn't suffer. Like that was supposed to make it better." Rose pressed her hand against the grass, pressed hard like she was trying to hold herself to the earth. "I screamed when they told me. Screamed and screamed until my throat was raw. My sister Lena came and held me while I cried. Held me for hours until I didn't have any tears left. And at the funeral I stood by his casket and I made myself stop. Made myself lock it all away because I thought if I kept crying, I'd never stop. I'd cry forever and ever until I dried up like a riverbed in August. So I stopped," she whispered. "Stopped crying. Stopped feeling. Stopped living really. I just went through the motions, day after day, selling flowers and smiling like nothing was wrong. Like my heart wasn't dead inside my chest. Like I wasn't drowning in silence every single night." Sam reached over and took her hand, held it tight. His palm was warm and rough with calluses, and Rose held on like she was holding onto a lifeline. "But today," she said, looking at Emma's headstone, "today I met your daddy, and he asked me for true flowers, flowers that didn't lie. And something broke open in me, Emma, something I'd kept locked up tight for 2 whole years. And it hurts, oh Lord, it hurts so bad, but it also feels like maybe I'm alive again. Maybe I'm real again." They sat there together in the cemetery, 2 grieving people and the ghost of a girl who loved sunflowers, and Rose cried. Cried like she hadn't cried since the day they buried Jack Miller. Cried until her eyes were swollen and her throat was sore and her whole body shook with it. And Sam sat beside her and didn't try to make her stop, didn't tell her it would be okay, just let her cry and held her hand while she did. When the tears finally slowed, when Rose could breathe again without gasping, she looked at Sam and said, I'm sorry for falling apart like that. You came here to visit your daughter and I made it about me." "No," Sam said firm. "No, you didn't. Emma would have wanted this. Would have wanted you to let it out. She used to say that holding in pain was like holding your breath underwater. Sooner or later, you gotta come up for air or you'll drown. Rose laughed, a watery sound. She sounds wise beyond her years. She was, Sam said, and his face softened with memory. Too wise sometimes. Used to give me advice about life and love like she was the parent and I was the kid. He shook his head. Lost her mama when she was 10. Cancer took her too. Different kind but just as mean. So it was just me and Emma after that, figuring things out together. And now you're alone, Rose finished soft. Yeah, Sam said. Now I'm alone. And I don't know how to do this, Rose. Don't know how to be in the world without her. Every morning I wake up and for just a second I forget she's gone. Just one beautiful second where everything's normal. And then I remember. And it's like losing her all over again. Rose knew that feeling too. Knew it in her bones. The forgetting and remembering, she said. That's the worst part. That moment when the world comes rushing back and you have to learn all over again that they're gone.